He's unflappable. We have been through so much as a family, as athletes, that he is prepared for everything. The only thing that really hurt me, when they started the line and saying he wasn't prepared or he was this or he came in with headphones on. I know my sheep. I know my son. I know what I raised. I know better than that. Shedeur ain't never did nothing stupid like that. Ain't never been nowhere unprepared, ill-prepared. No, if you there at 21, I was a pro. The difference is I played 3 sports in college. I just wanted you to know when you talk. Sometimes you forget. What? You think you just talking to dad.
He was not a millionaire at 20, so
that was not a millionaire.
They don't want to have a quarterback coming in and they got to worry about his dad making noise about what they're doing, how they're doing it, how effective they are or are not. Right. All of those things come into play, and then ultimately, you're an executive and you've got chosen a coach, but the audience is clamoring for dad to come coach his son and all of this other stuff. All of those things are things that an executive or an ownership group is going to be worried about because they're about having control over.
Chris, get in the end zone. Here we go. What's it?
What happens when one of the most talked about quarterbacks in college football finally makes it to the NFL, and the very team that drafts him acts like he's just another guy on the resume pile? And what happens when that quarterback's father is none other than Deion Coach Prime Sanders, a man who's never let disrespect slide, especially when it's aimed at family? Because this offseason, the Cleveland Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders, and instead of welcoming him, the team's owner basically shrugged and said, "That wasn't even my idea." And that tiny sentence, it lit a fuse. Deion didn't just clap back, he set fire to the entire conversation, exposing the unwritten rules, the silent bias, the backroom politics of an NFL that still can't handle confident, brilliant black quarterbacks who don't smile and wait their turn. This wasn't just a disagreement, this was a cultural moment. And you're about to see why Deion refuses to play quiet, why Shedeur is already shaking up the league before taking a single NFL snap, and how the Browns might have just made a decision they're not ready to answer for. Strap in. This is bold, fiery, and personal. And it all starts with one sentence that told the world, we never wanted Shedeur Sanders.
Mama side, they mama side.
That got
they mama side.
Okay.
And I'm not happy about that. It's they mama side. But But you know what? I don't think Shedeur would be the quarterback he is if he had that.
I hear you.
Because now he has to really use the intellect and the instinct and understanding of the game and to understand defenses and all that. So, and the thing about
not worried about running and doing
the thing about this kid, and I'm gonna give you some heat.
Yeah, cool.
How many quarterbacks going in this draft have started every game in high school?
Right.
Every game in college but one. Has had several different offensive coordinators.
Right.
And not the best of protection.
We have good process, okay? And if you'd have told me, let's see, we picked him on Saturday, right? Friday night driving home, y'all are going to pick Shedeur, I would say that's not happening. But we had a conversation early that morning, and then we had a conversation later that day. I think we had the right people involved in the conversation. At the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shedeur. Just like who's going to start or what play we're going to call is Kevin's call, but that's Andrew.
The NFL draft is full of smokescreens, politics, and posturing, but this one still caught people off guard. Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback with ridiculous college numbers, a pro-ready arm, and the media presence of a 10-year vet, somehow fell all the way to the 5th round. Even crazier, he landed with the Cleveland Browns, a team notorious for turning talented QBs into cautionary tales. But instead of celebrating the steal of the draft, the Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam, went full corporate deflection. When asked about the pick, he casually pinned it on his GM, saying, "That was Andrew Berry's call." No excitement, no endorsement, just a cold shrug that basically screamed, "Don't blame me if this doesn't work out." Now pause. Imagine being a rookie QB, trying to prove yourself, and the man who owns the team, the one writing every paycheck publicly, says, "I wouldn't have picked you." That isn't just disrespect, it's career sabotage in a suit and tie. And maybe Haslam thought that line would disappear in the usual NFL news cycle. But what he didn't count on, that quarterback's father is Deion freaking Sanders. And Coach Prime doesn't just protect his players, he protects his blood. What came next wasn't just a clapback, it was a masterclass in calling out the system without saying a single name.
Owner Jimmy Haslam has come out and basically said he didn't want Shedeur Sanders. He didn't want them to draft Shedeur Sanders. The GM wanted Shedeur Sanders and drafted Shedeur Sanders. And my thing is, okay, if you feel that way, why come out and say that right now when their young royal is fighting for a position and a spot on the team? How you think that makes him feel when he knows that the boss, the big boss of the Cleveland Browns, the owner of the team, didn't want him?
Couple teams that I won't allow him to play for.
Whoa.
This is my profession. I know what's behind the curtain. We ain't got to get back there for me to understand what's not prominent for my son. I'm not doing it. Ain't
And
no
if he
in the world.
doesn't listen to you?
Who? No, you must mean owners, like not my son.
Have you told him privately who you would like for him to play for?
It's not like who I would like for him to play for. It's
When Jimmy Haslam deflected blame for drafting Shedeur Sanders, most NFL owners would have stayed out of it. Maybe a casual, no big deal, a behind-the-scenes conversation, and a few sanitized press quotes. But Deion Sanders isn't most people, and he's definitely not most dads. Because when you overlook Shedeur, you're not just ignoring a quarterback. You're insulting everything Coach Prime built on the field. As a father, and as the public face of a new era of football excellence, Deion didn't launch some PR meltdown. He didn't run to Twitter, call out names, or demand immediate changes to the Browns' depth chart. No, he did something even more dangerous. He spoke calmly, cutting, relentless, surgical. He looked straight into the camera and said what every real father has felt at some point: I know my son better than you do. Deion laid it out. Shedeur isn't some show pony. He's not a TikTok quarterback riding flash and followers. He's been through war. He's studied defenses like textbooks. He shows up every single time with his laces tied and his mind right. And yet, here's an NFL owner, a man who's never coached a down, spinning it like Shedeur wasn't even supposed to be there. That wasn't just a slight, that was an attempt at erasure. And Deion? He wasn't having it. He called out the fake narratives without naming names, the "he's not ready" whispers, the "he's not serious" speculation, the lazy claim that Shedeur walked into camp like he was entitled something. He's never been unprepared, Deion said. Never done anything stupid. That's not who he is. That's not who I raised. This wasn't just Coach Prime speaking like a protective dad, it was bigger. This was Deion Sanders standing in the gap between perception and reality, demanding the NFL get its vision checked. Because Deion has walked this road. A superstar often doubted for being too loud, too flashy, too different. Every step of his career, people tried to box him in, and now they're trying to fence in his son, and the gloves are off. He didn't lob accusations. He dropped reminders. Reminders that Shedeur has never folded under pressure, that he played behind one of the worst offensive lines in college football and still put up elite numbers, that he's not just smart, he's surgical, that he leads huddles like meetings and reads defenses like professors. But the most powerful moment? When Deion, calm as ever, said, "I know my sheep, and I know better than that." Because in that moment, this stopped being about depth charts and reps. It became a multi-generational refusal to stay quiet in a system that can't seem to let black quarterbacks lead unless they do it silently. And if you think this is just about playing time, you haven't been paying attention. Because what's really being exposed here isn't just one team's bias, it's the entire NFL pipeline.
It's my algorithm, but I see Shiloh and Shedeur more than I've ever seen any undrafted guy or fifth-round guy on social media in the history of Instagram, Threads, Twitter, X, whatever it is. Like, those dudes are everywhere. And they caught some of Deion's strays, right? Deion had a level of greatness that was untouchable. Right? Deion could say, yeah, I'm not interviewing with these people because I'm not going to be there in the draft. Deion could say, hey, I already ran 140. I ain't effing with no more of this testing because y'all already know I'm top 5 and it ain't tripping. Watch the film, know who I am. That's the difference.
It was one of those nights. And I mean, shoot, that's what we expect. He's so darn good that we don't give him the credit that he deserves for some of the things that he does. Wow. See, you don't even know that stuff because you're into the game and you're coaching. You don't even think about that kind of stuff. I remember, I think he did that one time in Jackson, that he was phenomenal like that. But wow.
Wow. And they don't even mention Brother Osborne. He's not even mentioned. Oh, my bad. He's my son.
Shedeur Sanders has everything you want in a quarterback: arm strength, accuracy, leadership, football IQ, presence. From a purely performance perspective, he checks every box. But here's the uncomfortable truth. In the modern NFL, checking all the right boxes isn't always enough, not if you don't fit the mold. And make no mistake, the league has a mold. They won't say it out loud, but it's the guy who plays with just enough swagger without making anyone nervous. The guy who doesn't talk too much, doesn't bring attention to himself, and most importantly, looks the part. And Shedeur? He blew that mold to pieces the second he walked into Colorado. He wasn't just winning games, he was running the show, walking the line between entertainer and executor, between influencer and tactician. He'd throw a 40-yard dime and follow it up with a social media post that same night, and still wake up at dawn to break down film. He wasn't quiet in his greatness. He owned it. And for some people, gatekeepers, traditionalists, the football guys, that was a problem. Sure, the NFL says it wants new blood, fresh talent, young faces who know how to lead and connect, but only if they're humble about it, only if they fall in line first. The second you start showing confidence before they grant you permission, it's a red flag. If you show too much personality, that's another strike. If your dad is Deion Sanders and he's unapologetically vocal, they don't see a football family, they see a PR headache in cleats. Which is ironic, because the league thrives off personality, as long as it's their kind. Shedeur Sanders is polished, camera-ready, vocal, and extremely aware of what he brings to the table, and you'd think that'd be celebrated. But instead, it puts him under the same microscope they used on quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, and Jalen Hurts. Remember how long Lamar had to prove he could be a real quarterback? Remember when Cam got blasted more for his outfits than his MVP stats? Even Hurts had to fight off pundits who called him not a pocket passer after leading his team to the Super Bowl. Different players, same issue. Because the league can preach talent rises all at once, but if the talent comes wrapped in black excellence, personality, and independence, the standards change. And that's exactly where Shedeur lands. He's too polished to ignore, and too bold to box in. And to some front offices, that's not exciting, that's intimidating. But the real issue isn't what Shedeur brings to the table, it's how obviously he's outperforming everyone else, and still getting treated like an afterthought. And now, the question fans are asking is simple. What more does he have to prove?
He has them called out his GM, Andrew Berry, so hard. Do you remember when the Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders? Do you remember, right? He fell all the way to the 5th round. It was a big deal. And the owners said at the end of the day, this is his quote, "That's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shedeur." That's so awesome. It's so wrong also. A, it's wrong to throw your GM under the bus. B, it's wrong to throw him under the bus on something that they know, you know, everyone in the organization knows, everyone in the media knows. You are full of it. It's total.
Training camp is supposed to be a meritocracy. You show up, you ball out, you earn your spot. And by that logic, Shedeur Sanders should be taking first-team snaps right now. Because while other quarterbacks are lobbing ducks and misreading defenses, Shedeur's out here throwing laser beams, hitting timing routes like he's syncing to a metronome, and commanding the huddle like he's been in the league for 5 years. The footwork? Crisp. The release? Instant. The reads? Dead on. But guess what? He's not leading drills. He's not running the first team. He's not even second on the depth chart. There are clips floating around of Shedeur going 8 for 8 in red zone drills, while the starter misfires on screen passes. Fans aren't just noticing, they're calling it out. Social media lit up like a bonfire. Shedeur is clearly the best QB on the field. Why is he getting backup reps behind dudes who couldn't beat out an Uber Eats driver last season? You can't coach confidence like this. Let the man play. And these aren't just fan takes. Veteran players are throwing subtle shade in interviews, pointing out some of the young guys showing real leadership. Translation? Everyone inside that building knows what's really happening. And still, the reps just don't match the reality. It's like watching Gordon Ramsay cook a filet mignon, only to have someone push him aside for the guy burning instant mac and cheese. The logic? There is none. And that disconnect? That's what eats at someone like Deion Sanders. Because if it was about performance, Shedeur's name would already be in permanent marker on the starting roster. If it was about who gives the team the best chance, it wouldn't even be a discussion. But somehow, the rookie quarterback with the tape, the stats, and the presence gets asked to carry the clipboard. Gets treated like he should just be grateful for the jersey. And the only real explanation? Politics. Deion sees it, fans see it, even the other QBs in camp probably see it. And it begs the question, if the Browns didn't want to actually play Shedeur, why draft him in the first place? Just to say you did it? Just to bury him behind safer, quieter, blander picks? Because what's happening on the field doesn't lie. And at this point, the gap between performance and opportunity is so obvious it's embarrassing. So now, eyes are turning not just to Shedeur, but to the man who's been through this before. Because Coach Prime didn't stay quiet. He saw what they were doing, and he came back with something stronger than just stats. He came back with truth bombs. And the NFL wasn't ready. Deion Sanders didn't name names. He didn't have to. Because when a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, and now Division I head coach calls out the NFL for downplaying his son the football, world listens. And this time, they didn't hear Coach Prime. They heard a father dropping every ounce of patience he had left. This wasn't about entitlement, or revenge, or even Shedeur being benched. Deion's message went deeper than any surface-level drama. It was a shot straight down the throat of everything that's broken about how the NFL still values quarterbacks and who they feel comfortable letting lead. He wasn't reckless. He was razor-sharp. Deion made it clear. This wasn't just about a depth chart. This was about a system that intentionally underestimates talent when it doesn't fit a narrow image. His quote hit like a bullet. Shedeur's too good to be ignored, so they find ways to shrink him instead. He reminded everyone that his son didn't fall into greatness. Shedeur earned it. From high school dominance to historic snaps at Jackson State to facing SEC defenses with a depleted O-line at Colorado, the kid didn't skip steps. He built his resume from the dirt up, and yet, the NFL's response was still, let's see if he can hold a clipboard and smile quietly. And that's the real offense. Deion's response wasn't angry. It was intentional. He peeled back the NFL's curtain and exposed something most fans never see. The politics behind the plays, the fear of confident black QBs, the subtle resistance to leadership that isn't bland, robotic, or easily controlled. The desperation of front offices to hold the steering wheel even if it means driving off a cliff. And he didn't just defend his son. He defended every QB who ever got told to switch to receiver, just because they didn't fit the part. He defended Cam, Lamar, Hurts, and before all of them, himself. Because Deion's been that guy, the one who shows up to the party and gets asked to leave, simply because he looks like he knows he belongs there. The one who flashes confidence and gets labeled a distraction. The one who wins and still gets questioned. The message was simple but powerful. Shedeur doesn't need your validation. He needs the opportunity to prove you wrong. And once he gets it, you better believe the receipts are coming. But Deion wasn't finished. Because what he said next, it wasn't just a warning to the Browns, it was a coded message to the entire league. If you're not ready to hand Shedeur the spotlight, step aside. Because he's taking it either way. This isn't the first time a talented, confident, high-performing quarterback has been sidelined for being too much of something. Too confident, too vocal, too different, too black. It's not even rare. In fact, it's the playbook. And Deion Sanders has seen it too many times to stay quiet. Because what's happening to Shedeur? That's déjà vu for anyone who's been paying attention. Just ask Lamar Jackson, who had to win an MVP before the league acknowledged he could throw. Ask Cam Newton, who was criticized just as hard for celebrating touchdowns as he was for scoring them. Ask Jalen Hurts, who got graded on potential despite carrying the Eagles to the Super Bowl. There's a pattern here, and Deion laid it bare. These quarterbacks aren't just up against defenders, they're up against expectations they were never designed to meet. It's the old NFL coding. Be good, but not too good. Be confident, but not cocky. Be a leader, but keep your head down and your voice low. Smile in interviews. Say all the right things. And if your dad happens to be an outspoken icon, that's another strike, even if you've done everything right since high school. Deion's been living that pattern since the first time he walked into a locker room. He knows exactly what it feels like to be doubted for being loud, flashy, extraordinary. And the truth is, he didn't just survive it, he mastered it. He saw the expectations, dodged the landmines, and turned the league upside down doing it his way. Now, his son is stepping into the same spotlight with a target just as big, and the same old gatekeepers watching from the shadows, ready to pounce the moment he stumbles. But here's the mistake they made. Shedeur's not walking this path alone. He has a father who's already beaten the system they're trying to use against him. And that's what makes this different. Shedeur's not fighting to be heard. He's walking in with a megaphone. He's not begging for reps. He's demanding them, backed by numbers, leadership, and tape that speaks louder than any post-game interview. And Deion's not just watching from the stands. He's coaching from experience. He's narrating the game in real time, calling out every false narrative, every strategic delay, every not yet excuse being thrown in Shedeur's path like digital confetti. Where other QBs had to play nice and hope someone gave them a shot, Shedeur has something most of them never did: a blueprint, a bloodline, and a dad ready to detonate the system if it plays dumb. But what's happening now isn't just bias, it's almost comedic. Because while Cleveland clings to outdated prototypes, Shedeur's showing flashes of franchise firepower, and they still pretend he's on development mode. And that disconnect? That's what sets up the next chapter of this story, where swagger meets fear, and the real cultural clash begins. Let's call it what it is. This isn't just about football anymore. The situation with Shedeur Sanders is exposing a deeper issue, one the league rarely admits out loud: the unspoken rulebook of quarterback culture and what happens when someone refuses to follow it. You'd think the NFL would be thrilled. They've got a guy with elite stats, a sky-high ceiling, and a generational football pedigree. A quarterback who's calm under pressure, commands the huddle, and performs in big moments, and he's already marketable, polished, and beloved by an entire generation online. But instead of leaning in, the league flinches. Why? Because Shedeur brings swagger, and swagger can't be coached. It can't be throttled. It can't be controlled. And that's where the real friction begins. You see, the NFL has always been fine with personality as long as it plays by their rules, as long as it doesn't make anyone uncomfortable, as long as it fits inside the zip-up hoodie of quiet professionalism. But when a quarterback talks like a leader, walks like a star, and doesn't wait for permission to be confident, that's a cultural clash, plain and simple. Shedeur isn't out here acting like a backup. He's not sitting quietly at press conferences, dodging eye contact, saying things like, "I'm just happy to be here." He's showing up like he belongs because he does. And for some in the old guard, that doesn't scream Q-bone, that screams threat. They're not used to quarterbacks who don't shrink themselves. They're used to the scripted ones, the ones who throw 2-yard outs and say, "I need to do better." The ones who go 6 for 21 and get praised for their grit. The ones who've never led a locker room, but still look like a franchise quarterback on paper. Shedeur flipped the paper. He's cracking jokes on the sideline while dissecting zone coverages like a film major. He's launching ropes downfield while third stringers overthrow checkdowns. He's reading defenses in real time and still getting third-team reps like he's just the owner's nephew out on a fun summer internship. And fans are watching it and calling it what it is. How is this man QB3? Why is the best player on the field being hidden like he's some walk-on? Here's the truth. The NFL says it wants diversity, charisma, and innovation. But not all at once. And definitely not when it comes with lineage, flash, and expectations that challenge the hierarchy. And that clash, that fear of giving power to someone they can't completely shape, it's what's holding Shedeur back right now. But what they don't realize is, he was raised in this, built for the spotlight, and trained by a man who stopped asking for permission a long time ago.